This episode of Mental is brought to you by Spas and More. Visit spasandmorestl.com for more information.
Welcome to a special episode of Mental, everyone. We're going to do this one in a different studio today. My guest is Ashley Maland, and she has a show of her own that's pretty fantastic. This is where we heal, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that we can my idea for today was to do a little back and forth and use it for both shows. Right?
Bingo. I like that.
We're big on two birds, one stone for punchline. Sam, how's that audio kicking? Good to go?
Is it kicking, though? That's what we need to know.
Does it slap?
Is it? Jizz. Riz. Let's go. I'm still learning.
Cool. Yeah. It's dripping. Ashley, what's your story?
Oh, wow. Okay.
No, let's start with it. Let's start with a part that, so like what Mental is, and that Mental is kind of what kicked off the whole podcasting portion of Punchline Productions. The reason that I did it, to kind of give you an idea, is I went through a lot of transitional things all inside of a relationship about a year and a half ago, and hit my enough's enough moment in my life, right? Where I stopped blaming everyone for everything and stopped using my traumas as an excuse and took ownership of my weaknesses and looked introspectively on how I could solve those things. Mm-hmm. And then I think that the reason that your show idea intrigued me, and the reason why I'd like to think we get along so well, is because you two have gone on a journey, but there's different stages to every journey, right? And one of my favorite parts about healing has been going back and walking hand in hand with little Corey.
That's powerful.
Because child trauma was the one thing I wasn't facing and didn't know how much it affected me. And I'll end with this part because I want to ask you about yours and how it might have shaped you. I started noticing through therapy that was focused on my childhood traumas that I could identify where my personality was my childlike personality. Not being able to stop moving, tapping my feet, fidgeting during uncomfortable situations or conversations, word vomiting.
All part of ADHD as well, though.
Yeah, for sure. White lies about things. Just a lot of immature things that I didn't realize were ruining my life. And my least favorite one was just walking around with a constant chip on my shoulder because I wasn't living in true gratitude and didn't have inner peace and happiness. So I was very cynical about everything.
Yeah.
Made jokes about people, even though I'm imperfect. Made everything was dramatic and frustrating. And it was a miserable fucking way to live.
Yeah, I mean, it's depression, if we're honest. Like, and that's how a lot of people cope with depression. Like, their depression comes out as irritation, resentment, feeling jaded towards the world, feeling like they have a chip on their shoulder, like everyone's out to get them.
Yeah.
You know, or it can be like you're super sad all the time. Everyone's out to get you, but it's like, woe is me, you know.
That victimhood mentality.
Which was more my style of depression.
Okay. Did you have it as a, like, do you think parts of yours stemmed from childhood stuff too, or?
Wow, it's really complex. So I never took an antidepressant until I was 27. It was the first time ever taking one.
Okay.
I had been through a lot of things before that. You know, I came from a broken family. My dad was very troubled in the first portion of my parents' marriage, you know, just partied a lot. They were young. My parents were really young when they met, really young when they had their kids. So they were just kids, really. So my dad was in that stage of like where most guys are going out with all their friends, like college age, but he had kids and he had a wife at home. And so
under 20, he's got multiple kids.
So they met when they were 18, I believe. Yeah.
Okay.
So they had my brother Eric at 20, me at 22.
Okay.
And then my mom had a child before him that he had adopted. But anyway, long story short, they were both troubled. So it was a very chaotic childhood. It was, a lot of it was my mom trying to find out which bar my dad was at, us in the back seat, getting drunk around trying to find our dad for 3 days. Me waiting at the door for my dad to come home because that was my favorite time of any day that he came home. He was like my person. He was like my favorite person. And then getting mad at my mom as a little girl, thinking she was driving my dad away because when he would come home, they were fighting. And so it was just a lot of chaos, And I never knew that was affecting me at all, by the way. That wasn't even honestly until the last 6 months of my healing that all of that was like, oh my God, that's literally been directing every decision I've ever made. And I didn't even realize it. Probably also an influence on my ADHD.
Well, because as a kid, you don't know that every house isn't that same way, right?
Yeah, yeah. So, long story short, broken family in my teenage years. My dad remarried. They had their own kids too, and that was a weird dynamic. And then he did get his life together, so it was better. There was some structure, which I'd like to contribute to the fact that it did end up being okay ultimately. But I ended up in an abusive relationship. My first serious relationship ended up being very toxic, very abusive, lots of infidelity, very traumatizing, extraordinarily traumatizing for being from like 16 to like 19, 20 years old. And ended up being very abusive physically as well, and ended up with me having to leave the state to get away from him. So that was kind of the bedrock for every decision I've made as an adult. And I didn't know that really until the last couple of years. But yeah, what was the question?
You answered parts of it and all of it, somehow both. Let me ask you this. Do you think that, I'll speak for myself because we've had conversations before, and I try and be very careful about painting with a broad brush versus what my own experience is. Do you think that having unresolved childhood trauma drew you towards the chaos that was then that relationship with your husband, in the sense that trauma bonding, right? What I find is, what I'm starting to find is that it's not just romantic relationships either. So after you answer that question, I want to touch on how inner peace and happiness, let me say that it's not a self-actualization phase that I'm in where I feel like I've reached the peak epitome of inner peace and happiness. I struggle with it nearly daily.
Challenge.
Yeah. But one thing I've noticed is since I've strived to live that consistent life, whom is in my life is far different.
Something about peace, really. I just want to say real quick, 'cause this was really profound for me.
Yeah, please.
And I don't want you to lose that question. I'll come back to it. I remember one time, it was like a year ago. I was sitting in like meditation prayer. I remember asking God, just being like, God, please give me peace. Please give me peace. I just want peace. And I swear, and I don't know how people hear from God and my own ways. I always like that silent voice, but I remember hearing, I've already given you peace, but it's your job to maintain it. And I was like, what? That changes everything. And I don't know how I feel about that, but it was such a revelation for me of like, we all have access to peace, but it's up to us to keep ourselves in a peaceful place.
I look at it as the worry mindset.
Yeah.
In the sense that, you talk about God, he's not the one that wants us to worry about anything.
Yeah.
We're supposed to leave that to him.
Doesn't solve anything.
Right. Well, and that's his thing. The devil wants you to worry, right?
It's what you consume in every possible facet is what determines how peaceful of a state you can be in. The music you listen to, the things you watch on television, the people you have in your life, the relationships that you allow yourself to get in. Every single thing that we are taking in is affecting how much peace we have up here.
Sure, absolutely. What I mean by the worry mentality is like the essential part for me is that no matter what, it's my belief that for me, no matter what I'm consuming, observing, listening to, that I still have moments of unrest.
Yeah.
And we all do, right? And during those moments, that's when I remember. So we talked about, I think briefly, how I got hacked.
Yeah.
In Chicago. I'm like watching all this unfold.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do I do? And then I just thought about it for a minute. I said, whatever will be, will be. And this too shall pass kind of a deal. And then I spent 45 minutes of my 5-hour drive home just praying in gratitude.
That's good.
because I was like, and I woke
Can't
up
change
calm
it.
the next day.
That's good.
'Cause like, what am I going to worry about it for?
Yeah, you can't change it. What's done is done.
Right. And so that, and then the adverse of one of the big deals I always had problem with was stressing over things that haven't happened yet.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And there's
I'm
so many
bad about
different
that.
like sayings about like, you know, it's like experiencing the pain from a wound you have that's not been inflicted, all these different things. But in actuality, I think part of that is anchoring in. Let me loop it back into my question, make a double part question. Was your childhood trauma a reason that you were drawn to your husband who created trauma? Follow up. Is there, in your life and in your experience, a comfort in that chaos? And that's why it continues in different ways. Does that question make sense?
Yeah, the first part of that, unknowingly, yes, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what I don't know that it was I think the chaos of childhood put me in a freeze state for a really long time. And what that did for me was I was constantly seeking comfort, constantly seeking peace, constantly seeking organization and predictability. I didn't know that, of course, but I didn't have any organization in my life. I didn't really have much predictability in my life as a kid. And as an adult, I didn't know how to even cultivate those things. And I'm still struggling with that, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Like even just the other day, I made a video about this. I struggle to cultivate organization in my life. I struggle to cultivate predictability and all these things. And I think when I met my husband, he was all those things. He was organized. He was driven. He was successful. He was just very predictable, right? And so I thought that I was drawn to that, I think, because of my lack of it, even though we weren't compatible at all.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't compatible at all in all the ways that matter. I didn't know that, though, at the time. And it's important to say this, too, because this gets confused a lot. My ex-husband wasn't my abuser. My abuser was my first relationship that led to me ended up dating a lot of not so great people later in life that had wounds and I had wounds, and you put those two things together and you've got pure toxicity. But anyway, going back to your question, I think that was my attraction to him. I also had ADHD and didn't know it until I was 35. And my brother Eric had ADHD really bad, and it always presents itself in boys a lot more than it does girls. So I just thought I was stupid. I just thought I was dumb. I just thought I couldn't focus on things because it was boring. There were so many things to that, but
Well, and all the things I'm starting to learn about it because of someone who has it
yeah,
terribly also, my younger son. But I didn't realize like selective memory is a big deal.
bad.
Like
Very bad.
And there were so many times where I would have relationships with individuals, and they're like, "How can you not remember that about me?" But you can remember, that Alf's neighbors were the Octonics. And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I wish I could.
If it doesn't imprint in your brain,
Yeah.
it's not gonna stay there.
I still have to count out the months.
Yeah.
Like, I can't tell you off the top of my Jump Street what March or May is.
Are there people that can?
I think it's normal.
What?
Yeah, because when people write dates, they write them they don't write March 3rd. They'll write
No, I know, but you don't. You got to
they'll
think
write,
about it, right?
3.
I got to think about it. I got to
25.
be like,
I think we're the minority. I don't know though. We're 40th in the world apparently in education, so maybe not. Maybe we're the majority. But there's other things too, where people's birthdays or sentiments or whatever else. So then I've started taking notes.
yeah.
So not only if I'm dating someone, I'll take notes on them,
that's good.
right? Not like creepy notes.
No, but just the little things that you know. I should. This is something I probably should remember.
Not like how many paces it is from the door to the couch, but yeah.
Her PIN number for her house.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, but just things favorite coffee or likes and dislikes.
Yeah.
Just whatever. But I do that with important relationships in business now too.
Yeah, you.
Because I used to do it as a salesperson, but now I've carried that over. So subconscious attraction, I think, is a thing,
Yeah.
right?
Being attracted to what you're not.
That,
It's kind of the idea of
but also
opposites
kind of
attract.
what you are,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That counter the opposite attract thing, I think is I think it's bogus.
I do too.
I don't think it's right. What I
I think you can be attracted to anyone physically. And then
I
if they're
think-
the opposite, you're like, oh, opposites attract.
yeah, and I think a lot of it's subconscious. I think
Yeah.
with the people I'm drawn to as an adult, I've had like I know exactly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've had 7 relationships beyond what I would call dating,
Okay.
right? 7 relationships. And I'm talking like 18 to,
Okay,
to
yeah.
41.
Okay.
Every one of those I was immediately attracted to. And not from like necessarily across the room and be like, ooh, oh my gosh. But
That's it.
there's a lot of cute people. But like date 1, I knew there'd be, or
Yeah.
at least hoped there'd be,
More than one date.
date 45.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, out of those individuals, only one time was I considering marriage.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that is?
Because as I got deeper in, my way of coping with my inadequacies and my fear of abandonment issues was I've always been too, and I've said this several times now, too nice to be like directly mean. I'm not going to scream and yell at you or like be aggressive. Anyway, I'm usually like shut down in an argument. And up until very recently, I couldn't have conflicting conversations, which is unhealthy. You know, like I couldn't just sit down and be like, hey, these are my boundaries.
Yeah.
Because I was afraid that if I had boundaries, I'd push that person away.
Yeah, same.
And I was fear of abandonment.
Yeah,
But
same.
now it's like, no. Not only do I love having boundaries, but I love sharing my boundaries with you.
Yeah.
So if you can't meet those and respect those, then cool, I don't have to get involved with you.
Yeah.
But my thing was that I was I was utilizing self-destructive patterns to test love. So rather than being consistent in my life and staying true to my path and walking my purpose and bettering myself daily to become consistently more attractive, my idea of as soon as I would feel loved, like as soon as I trusted that love might be real, I would self-destruct. And not so visibly that it was like, oh man, this dude's a loser, but like visibly to where it would be like that partner was then responsible for my happiness.
Yep.
Like I don't understand, like why can't, like I just don't know what to do to make you happy, or I can't say anything without you being defensive, or you're smoking weed every day, or you're not taking care of your body. You're doing
I feel
all
like
this
those are
other stuff.
reasonable things to be.
Upset about,
Yeah.
or not upset about, but not like.
But like, yeah.
It's unattractive.
Yeah.
Why do you want somebody that's just like, ugh?
Well, no, you don't, do you?
No, I didn't like myself either.
Yeah.
So what I was doing is I'd be at peak moments. I'd find someone. I'd be like, oh man, I really love this person. I'd push them away by self-destructing, and then I'd dislike myself. So every time I was getting weaker too. Until the final time when I was like, wait a second. Whoa,
So
I've got to fall backwards.
you would push them away,
yeah.
and it'd also make you like yourself less. More,
Yeah.
Or make you like
Yeah,
yourself
so like
less.
every time was worse.
But you would actively push them away, even though it made you feel awful too.
Oh, terrible.
So why? Dive more into that.
Okay, let me lay down. No, so I think it was because
It was obviously triggering that abandonment wound, closeness.
in all honesty, I still have a firm belief that unconditional love is something that most people, certainly no one I've ever met, are incapable of.
Yeah. Especially more and more as we get into like this type of dating culture.
I believe everyone has what I call a loyalty point. Mm-hmm. Primary loyalty point for most normal people is their own children. Mm-hmm. That's a normal one to have. Mm-hmm. You're not going to get my time over my own kids. Mm-hmm. You're not going to get my, if it's that like, you're hanging off a cliff, my kid's hanging off a cliff.
Yeah, it's my
pull
kid is
kids up.
coming home. Yeah.
Right. So that one's normal, I feel like. Now, I've always kind of imagined, though, that like if I were to be married, or that I was married to one of my children's mother, I have 2 sons, children's mothers, that like it would be them and I versus the kids, and then like the me and my wife and my kids versus the world. So like wife comes first in that scenario. If I'm dating you, and you have kids and I have kids, my kids are first, your kids are first to you.
Let's get back to the pushing people away though,
So
when it made you feel bad about yourself.
Yeah. So then I'm just so sure, and this is like the part I still haven't overcome. I've overcome a lot of things, but I'm just so sure that unconditional love no longer exists. That that I'm finding more and more contentment, and not contentment, but being content within being single, because that doesn't hurt.
So is that why you think you push people away?
No, I pushed it to test. I pushed them to test
Their loyalty?
love and loyalty.
To see what they would be
Which
willing
was
to,
silly.
how much they would fight for
Yeah, I
you.
don't do that anymore. That
I
was,
think probably a lot of people
was
do
the
that and
last
don't
time.
even realize they're doing that.
yeah. Well, because I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't because when I first got broken up with out of that relationship, the first like month I spent trying to like fill in all the gaps of what she didn't like about that relationship. Go back and reprove myself in that situation, right? And be like, oh, yeah, but look, I'm better now, kind of a thing. Faking it till I make it. But then, like through that process, what I realized is like, man, I love these habits. They make me feel so good, and I'm thinking less about her. Right? Not to say I didn't think about her at all.
Right.
But just it wasn't consuming my thoughts.
Well, they call that secure attachment. There's anxious attachment, secure attachment, and avoidant attachment.
Yeah.
That's
Which one's the secure one?
Secure is when you can actively, I'm going to give an example. Two people can walk beside each other while doing their own things.
Oh, yeah.
Both are very content with their own things, also
Yep.
content when they come together, and content when they go apart. Anxious attachment is two people walking together.
I know the other two. I know anxious and avoidant.
The one person is like clings on with like their claws because they're like anything can happen, and the avoidant is like pushing them away, actively pushing them away because every time they get close, it's like, ooh, that triggers me.
So what's the middle one?
Secure.
That's my favorite one so far.
That's the ideal, right?
Well, I just got to that place. Like, so the last person I dated, it was like, hey, this is, I go to bed between 9 and 9:30.
Yeah.
I wake up between 4:30 and 5. I do this.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my stuff. On these days, I'm completely unavailable. Setting boundaries and being cool with that, and then being cool with their stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
Like she had things that she has. Okay, cool. Go do
That's
your
great.
thing.
Yeah, that's great.
See when I see quality over quantity.
I'm a combo. So I'm securely attached.
Like the pretzel with the stuff inside.
Yeah. I'm securely attached when I'm not that interested. When I'm not that interested, like open, but not that interested, my life is my 100% priority. But I still want to see you and get to know
I
you.
have that anxious underlying when I'm interested.
Yes. But when when
I
I meet
wouldn't say I
somebody and I'm
suppress
like,
it, but
whoa, I really like this person, I
Calm
immediately go
down.
into anxious attachment. And I have to work on that very actively.
do you calm yourself down?
I'm working on it. It's
Yeah.
hard.
What
because-
exercises do you have to do that?
So anytime I start to get like an anxious feeling about someone, I consider multiple things though, because there are two things that can happen. I can go into a relationship and I feel securely attached, right?
Mhm.
But if they are an avoidant, that triggers my anxious attachment even more.
Yeah. of course.
Sometimes I just get a little bit anxious because that's just my default. And I know that, and I'll have to go, okay, hey, wait a minute. You're feeling this way, but this person's done nothing wrong.
Mhm.
You're feeling this way, but this person is acting like a securely attached person. They have their own life, they have their own things, and you're not their responsibility.
Right.
So this is for you. Pull back, sit down, breathe it out, get back to your normal state of mind, get busy with your other things that you normally do. So I can do that. That I can do. I can regulate. However, if it's with someone that's an avoidant person that actively pulls away, actively distances themselves, I get triggered with the anxious. I work on it myself, but then I can't soothe it because the more they pull away, the more they avoid, the more it rises up and the harder it is for me to calm
Okay.
myself down.
I have a theory about this.
Okay.
But
maybe it's just not the right person too, you know?
Okay, so that's part of my theory is that like, I think the oil and water aspect of an anxious attachment and an avoidant attachment.
It does feel like an ancient attachment sometimes.
I think part of that is intuition.
Yeah.
This is why. Because I think that sometimes the avoidant attachment that some people display is not only an unhealed inner child,
Yeah.
but also because they're up to something.
Yeah, they're actually, yeah. They're probably dating other people or they're
Yeah, or they need that
So
space.
it's your intuition going, something's not right here.
Yeah, they need that space for different reasons just because they need that space. Because when I ask for my space, I'm very clear about why I need it.
Yeah, but you're also mature enough to go, hey, communication goes a long way.
But
Not everyone
But
is.
very recently mature.
But not everyone is. Like for me, it's common sense to be like, hey, you know what? I don't know how I feel about this. I'm going to sit with it for a while. It might be tomorrow before you hear from me, but we're good. For me, that's common sense because I'm an empathetic person by nature, and I wouldn't want to leave somebody hanging.
Well, I was just going to ask. So, like with your anxiousness,
And I'll tell
part
them.
of you, like this is conversation I've had. Hey, no, I don't have my son tonight. I don't have plans, but I really need to recharge. I'd love to text you before bed, but I just need to check out for a little bit, be myself.
Twofold for me on that one.
Yeah.
Depends on the person's consistency before that.
Mm-hmm.
If that person has been really consistent before that, they've been really communicative before that, and everything's pretty even kill and we're good, I'm not going to think anything of that. I'm going to be like, oh. I mean, I might be like, oh, that's kind of a bummer. I really wanted to hang out with him, but I get it. Like, take your space. You should do that. I absolutely think you should do that.
Mm-hmm.
If that person's been inconsistent, though, where it's like, oh, let's hang out tomorrow, and then we don't. Or, I really want to see you, but I'm going to make plans with my friend because that, like, you know what I'm saying? Where where you feel like they're constantly, like, keeping you
Sure.
on the hook, but they're not quite really
But both
there.
of those sentences sounded so like high school to me.
Well, that's happened to
I know.
me
I bet.
before. Like, where,
I have guy friends. I'm a guy. I get it.
right. So,
I've
but
heard
that, in that scenario,
But
if
I've
a
heard that
person-
from women too. I've
Yeah.
heard that from women be like, oh, it's been a long week. I just need a night out with the girls.
Well, and that's
When in
different.
my brain, my anxious part is like, why wouldn't you need a night in with me then?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, why do you want away from me?
Yeah.
But there's different scenarios. Like someone stable, predictable, that I feel calm around, that I don't feel like is avoiding me. I'm like, yeah, take your night. Like, you probably need that.
I
But
feel like I have a chill, like I have a comforting, most people trust me fairly quickly
yeah,
because I don't really have an angle.
yeah,
Now, I can't say that I've always lived that way. And sometimes my angle would be, like when I say white lies, one of my big things that I did was I would say like, oh yeah, I have my son tonight,
but you don't.
but I don't. And I didn't go like out about it. I wasn't like, oh, I got my son tonight, and then I go out with my friends.
Right.
I'm like,
you
I got
just
my son
didn't wanna
tonight,
do
and then
anything.
just sit at my ass on the couch.
Yeah.
I
And it's
wouldn't
like
do
you don't
anything.
have to even say that. But that is
Yeah.
like that's the
But then
the
I
people
disappoint.
pleaser in
Yes,
you
because I didn't want to disappoint and be like,
because you don't want to hurt their feelings.
in actuality, I just don't want to do anything with anybody right now. So my spirit animal was like a horse.
Because you were afraid.
Yeah.
If I tell them the truth that I just want to be by myself, they're going to think it means I don't want to hang out with them, and that's actually not it at all. I just really need to be by myself.
What I was afraid of is that me asking for boundaries would have them break up with me.
Yeah.
And then I'd be alone,
Yeah.
even when I want my alone time.
Yeah.
So that's why I've found this being content in being single, because I don't have to ask anybody for a long
I
time.
know.
And I can still go out and have fun.
I know.
I have friends that are women that I have fun with. And I could say never, as an adult, never. I've not ever been the one that needs to, I can hang out with females and not be like in a relationship with them.
Right. Same. I can too. I think it's easier for women though.
And not, let me clarify too, because some people, we live in a pretty grimy city. Like, sorry to admit it, but I mean, you guys all know who you are. The ones of you who aren't know who you are too, like guilty conscience, whatever. So this city is very bad about like people know each other like they might have dated before. Like a lot of people are
Oh.
married to people that like dated their friends or
Oh.
slept with people that have kids with their other high school friends. And
Okay.
it's St. Louis.
Okay.
So here especially, I'm a little bit guarded about that stuff. And so
Yeah.
I'm not big on like when I say have a relationship without having a relationship, I don't mean a sexual relationship either. I just mean like just literally being friends.
Yeah.
Like there's no double meaning behind it. It's literally having friends that are opposite sex, but there's no kind of,
I think there can be
Need for
value
thing.
in it as long as both people have boundaries and understand what it is.
well, yeah, because I have stuff that I need to take dates to. It's weird when I show up alone all the time. For years, I've been showing up alone.
Well, I like doing stuff by myself. A lot of times I prefer. it.
I do to an extent, but I'm talking about like there's oftentimes with this industry now, especially that we're like there'll be galas or events or
Oh.
different things, and I'm at a table of 10,
You're the only single.
and it's me in my seat and my other seat, and I'm just like, I mean, I don't know. I guess give me 2 entrees.
Yeah, true.
Like-
I do feel that.
So every once in a while, it's enjoyable to have someone that I don't necessarily have to like babysit either. Like,
Right, because you're there as a friend, so it's like,
yeah,
who cares?
you go work a room. I go work a room. Network. Like,
Yeah, we'll come back together later and talk about it.
Yeah.
You tell me about the good-looking guy at the bar you were talking to, and I'll tell you about this chick over here that's been hitting on me.
Are you doing an impression of me, or are you asking? Because I wouldn't do. You would say that.
I would say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't worry about the good-looking guy at the bar.
No, I didn't mean like you'd worry about it. You'd be like, oh, give me the scoop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
About the gal.
Yeah.
Because that's
Yeah, I'd want to know. I'd be like, oh, that girl over there's got her eye on you.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the ultimate wingman too. I think is opposite sex.
Mm-hmm.
Because then there's some introspective things there that I would notice. I'm oblivious when a female is attracted to me.
Oh, I'm the same.
I can read people like the back of my hand.
Mm-hmm. I can be on
Unless
a date
it's a female
with
I'm
someone.
attracted to, and I'm like, buh.
Yeah. I can literally be on a date with someone who, obviously, you're not going to go on a date with somebody if you're not attracted to them, and still be thinking, I wonder if they're even attracted to me. You know, it's like, well, no crap, they are. Why would they be there? Like, if they weren't.
No
but
crap
like,
is right.
But it's like, I can still still be thinking, maybe they're not. Yeah, maybe they're not.
Yeah.
You know? You just don't know.
I think that's an inner thing, right?
I don't
see
know.
that in a derogatory
I don't even
way.
mean that in like they have to be attracted to me.
No. What I'm saying
Just
is,
like I'm so
I
oblivious.
wonder, because I have it in a similar way. I wonder what that is. Like, I wonder what part of our subconscious is like so unsure, like until someone is literally kissing you,
Right,
if they
right,
like you.
right. Until they're kissing you, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, could
Even
be, could
then,
not be.
but I feel you, because even then, sometimes I'm like, what are they going to call me tomorrow? Like, I'm the chick in that situation, like the classical sense of it. Like, totally candid. I had a one night stand in my younger days,
Oh, okay.
and I was broken up about it for a while because, like, she didn't call, like, she one night standed me.
Oh,
Like, I was
that's
like,
rare.
I was like, hey, like, you want to go?
That was not her
you
first
want to go,
rodeo.
like,
I
hang
can
out
tell
or
you
do
that.
XYZ and like ghost. And I was like, dang, she used me.
I feel so, violated.
I didn't care for that at all.
Yeah, nobody does. Nobody cares for
I think
that.
that's why I'm careful about that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
because like I don't want people to feel that way. I know
I
how
think
it
women
feels.
have to be in particularly careful about that because there's a lot of shame that comes with
the
just
turns,
sleeping with a guy.
how the turns have tabled.
Well, I just mean
though,
I
because
know in a lot of sense.
I think we talked
yeah.
about this the other day too. Like, I get DM'd a lot, aggressively, and I've been Me Too'd also. Like, presentation of, let's meet to talk about business at dinner. By the way, we should go out sometime.
Man, that does not happen for me.
Really?
I mean, this is what it just like blows my mind.
I think here's the deal is too. I have several attractive female friends that say the same thing.
Really?
And I had a little bit of disbelief too until I came to another realization of there's two types of men that won't approach you because you're attractive. Those who think you're unobtainable and don't think they're good enough,
Okay.
which are usually the good guys.
Okay.
They're like decent humans.
Okay.
And those who understand that they're not mature enough to handle a high caliber woman. I got a lot of buddies. I'm 40. I got a lot of buddies that still date late 20s because that's the only women that'll put up with their shit.
Mm-hmm.
Because they know if they're going to come to a grown woman, they have to come correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And they might just not have it in them.
They're just not. They're not down.
And
For
then
that.
that doesn't mean they couldn't have different aspects of their life together.
Right.
But maybe they've been kicked in the nuts enough times, metaphorically speaking, to understand that, like, yeah, she looks a little too much for me. Like, I probably can't keep up with that. So I think that's why. I think that's why I have friends that I don't like yourself who are attractive females, and they'll tell me like, well, I don't know, Corey, I don't really get approached, and I'm like, bull.
I don't. And if I do,
Yeah,
it's like creatures from the hills have eyes.
nice.
It's like
Yeah.
the crazy, scary Uncle Joes
Oops,
that live
pop
in
your
their
tire with some barbed wire. Oh, come on in,
It's-
I'll fix your car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the ones that shouldn't have the confidence to do it at all, but for some reason they do.
They might be your frog prince, though.
No.
There might be a reason that you're single
They
right
also
now.
might peel my skin off when I'm sleeping. So, no, it's anyway, yeah, it's just doesn't happen a lot for women.
Yeah.
And I mean every once in a while like a really good-looking guy will drop into my DMs, but there's always there's always an immediate red flag
Yeah.
with that where you're like, "Oh,
Like
now
the profile
I know why."
picture they're making this face.
No, no. I'm talking like you would, if you looked at their social media, you're like, wow, like, okay, cool. 1 out of 10,000. It looks like a really good looking, got his stuff together guy. And then within like 20 minutes of talking, you're like, oh, there it is. There it is. He's calling me baby, and it's been 10 minutes. We've had 10 words interacted, and now I'm already baby. Got it. Got it.
Yeah, I've often likened dating in your 40s, well, early 40s, let's call it dating in my late 30s, to thrift store shopping. Like something looks cool, and then I get it home, I'm like, oh, there's a hole in the armpit.
Yeah.
No wonder nobody didn't want this. Like, I didn't see.
That sounds terrible, but it's weird because I have all of my single girlfriends around my age, in like their middle 30s to middle 40s, are all the most incredible women I know. They got their shit together. They're beautiful, and I'm not just saying that. Like, they're genuinely beautiful women that any man would see as objectively attractive.
Well,
They have good hearts. They're like compassionate, empathetic, like wife material women.
Yeah.
And we're all like,
I don't know what the
at a
percentage
loss.
is. I don't know what the percentage is, but I can tell you as a male who thinks, I wouldn't say highly of myself. I have self-confidence now. I had arrogance for like 35 years. I've never had self-confidence until very recently. So I could tell you assuredly in my experience that I was avoidant to women who were well put together up until a certain point in my life. My last relationship, I would beg to differ, was the only time and I've dated women who have matured into beautiful and incredible people, high caliber individuals. But I would say that up until my last relationship, I did not date in that realm. And as a confident man now, I can tell you that it was because I was an immature, arrogant young man, even at 35.
did you know that you were arrogant? Or did
Oh,
you?
yes, absolutely. Because, well, maybe it's a better way to look at it is I didn't know I was arrogant. I acted cocky because I knew I was insecure. So what you would have seen of me was probably cockiness. But what I knew about myself was I was insecure and unsure of myself. Because I had all these unresolved traumas and all these unresolved things that I was going to put up a defense, and I was going to portray myself as something I wasn't, and I was going to come in and I was going to win you over real quick, and then I was going to unravel. And the reason was...
By unravel, what do you mean? Win you over real quick and then just pull back and suddenly disappear? Or like slowly disappear?
No, not ghost. Just like in one instance, I dated a girl, fantastic. We're still friends. Woman, I apologize because we were old enough to be men and women by that time. And I broke up with her because I started seeing those same patterns. And at the time, I didn't identify those patterns, but I started getting like lazy with myself, with my self-care, with my career motivation, with other things. And so we literally went to dinner, and I said, hey, I can't be the best version of myself right now and be the boyfriend that I feel like you deserve. So I'm going to have to call it. I think that this isn't going to be the best thing for either one of us because we're going to end up resenting each other because I'm just not able to show up the way I need to show up. And so we broke up, and we cried a little bit, and we made love one last time. That same day. And then, her idea, not mine. And then we're still friends to this day. We're so cool. And that was like 7 or 8 years ago. And then in another instance, I had to kind of step in and to say, I don't have the time to fill in your pillars because what you've portrayed to me in this relationship is that me having to reschedule on a fairly often, 2-3 times a month, will not change on my part.
Yeah.
Because as a business owner, kind of same thing. If you own a restaurant, the busboy doesn't show up, you're bussing tables.
Yeah.
Dishwasher doesn't show up, you're washing dishes.
So you were having to reschedule, but that was also causing pain in her because it.
Correct. And I was communicative about it, and I was consistent in all other ways. And even her point to me was, this makes me feel less than, and it's a big part of what I like in a relationship. And so I said, listen, I said, if I meet 4 out of your 5 pillars, I don't know where I came up with that. That's a mythological number. It doesn't mean anything. Just hypothetical. Like if I meet 4 out of your 5 pillars of fulfillment, it's okay for us to walk away from this. It's okay for you to hold out until you find somebody that meets all 5 pillars.
Do you think that's even possible?
I don't know that it is.
I don't think it
But
is.
if you have one that's strong,
I think if you 4 out of 5 is good.
4 out of 5 is great. And since then we've talked about that and they've been like, you know what I can do with the 4 out of 5 thing. And I'm like, nah. Because it doesn't feel like that 5th one. Let me think of it like, let's think of it this way then. What is your top 3? Maybe you have 7 to 10, but there's got to be
Your foundational.
there's got to be some foundational things. Yeah, thank you.
that are
for
like
the word.
non-negotiable. Like if I don't
Non-negotiables.
have this, I
Non-negotiables.
won't be happy.
There's got to be a few things in your repertoire that are non-negotiable.
Yeah, for me that's communication. A consistent communicator.
Okay, yeah,
An
yeah.
open communicator.
Yeah, I'm huge on that too.
Like I
Communication,
can't-
loyalty.
I unravel and I spiral
Mm-hmm.
out of control with someone who's not a consistent communicator.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I'm not saying we have to talk all day long.
Sure, I get it.
But if it's like I don't hear from them for a full 24 hours, I'm spiraling
Yeah.
because it's my need.
I'm the same way, so I reciprocate that because I'm that way.
Yeah.
So like even if I am like Mondays are chaos for me, literal chaos.
Yeah.
But when I am in a relationship, I'll shoot just sometime when I'm
just-
thinking about it
anything.
and just be like, hey, thinking about you, or hey,
That's all it-
hope
yeah.
you're having a good day.
That's it. That
Whatever.
goes a long way. Like just
Chaos.
someone that they don't have to talk to me
Day's
all day.
chaotic, hope yours is great.
But it's going to be such a busy day to you. What I'm going to think of you, I'll text you when I get a chance.
Yeah.
Like that's all I need. But a lot of people see that as needy.
No.
Or like I need too much because I want you to at least just keep me in the loop. We don't need to be on the phone for 14 hours that day.
Yeah. No,
But I do want to
I don't
hear
think
from
it's
you
too
at
much.
some point.
I like the same type of stuff, so I'm not thinking it's too much.
Yeah.
My new one that's a non-negotiable for me is I have to have, so my alternative to having that full night off at sometimes with nothing around is I have to have a buffer zone between work and the time I spend with you. I have to have it.
Yeah, I
Even
think
when
that's normal for men.
even when I don't need it. Well, because here's what happens when I don't have it. I come home, think of it like a kid. Because you're a parent.
Unwind.
Well, yeah, but think about when you ask your kid how their day was at school. What do they say?
I don't know.
We just talked about this. Yeah, I don't know. What did you learn today?
I don't know.
Did anything fun happen?
Not really.
It sucks. And then you, as a parent, you're sitting there like, well, what did I do? Well, what's wrong with you? So, in the same sense, something I wasn't identifying is most of the time I'm cool. I'm coming home like, yo, what's up? Like, how are you? You know, what's going on? Let's cook some dinner. Let's go out somewhere. Let's go for a walk. And then sometimes I can't do that. And so I was like, look, let me have the understanding from you that if I'm done at 5 o'clock, like, I'm going to go for a walk. Or I'm going to do something on my own
That's normal.
for a little bit. And then I'm going to come back and reconnect.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
It wasn't normal in my life prior to
Yeah.
the realization.
But again, communication with that is great. You saying, hey, like every day when I get off work, I have to spend like an hour just zoned out. My phone's on silent. Like, just so you know, like.
Yeah. Because you don't want work mode me as a partner.
Yeah.
Because I'll do that. That's when, like, if you've ever received text from me about business stuff, it's like, I'm very conscious about primarily preemptively writing in, good morning, good afternoon, whatever, but my niceties first, because I enjoy being polite.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, thanks for taking the time to read this. Here's something that was on my mind, whatever that is. But when I'm in work mode, I'm like, hey, are you good for 4 o'clock still? You want to grab dinner at 7? And then it's like, no, I don't. Mr. Abrasive, So that's why I have that boundary there now, because even when I don't need it, it gives me that communicative space and understanding. What's another non-negotiable for you?
I think consistency. Like, obviously with communication, but
Yeah.
action too.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm realizing this more and more as I get older, that like I have to have consistency because, like I said, unpredictability triggers my anxiety.
Yeah.
And obviously that's for me to work on. The anxious part's for me to work on. But I don't want to be in a relationship where it's constantly triggered all the time. Like, I really just want and need someone that's like, I know I'm going to hear from them every day. I know that I just their
Give me
character.
give me an example of consistency outside of communication.
Every time we go on a date, they're asking me when I'm free for the next time. That's not like a necessary thing. I'm just saying, like, for an example would be like someone I know is going to ask me out again. Someone I know that's going to consistently pursue me. Someone that,
What about does what they say they're going to do?
yeah. Someone that does what they say they're going to do. Like, hey, I really want to see you on Wednesday. That's predictable for me because now I know on Wednesday you want to see me. So even if we don't end up getting together, I'm still, my anxiety's good. I'm calm. Like, and then on Wednesday, if it doesn't work out, that's okay.
Do you hang on every word? Do you hang on to words?
Words matter to me.
Okay, so this is why I ask this.
Words matter to me.
One of my inconsistencies about who I was that due to my childhood trauma, my way to finally break away from the situation that I felt trapped in as a child was by using my words. Mm-hmm. So I used my words to convince my family up here that I was being abused with my mother's household. So I was able to move because of my words. Mm-hmm. And so in a situation that I was trapped in for 3 years, felt trapped in as a child, couldn't run away, couldn't walk away, couldn't call and get picked up. None of my actions mattered. I was a prisoner until I figured out how to use my words correctly. Mm-hmm. And so my words became my shield to defend myself and my weapon. Mm-hmm. So then what carried into my relationships then is that I would use my words and the inconsistencies would follow. Mm-hmm. So it felt like a performance piece after a while because it was just words.
And that feels like a lot of men. Like I have yet.
Well, it's kind of like I didn't think I was narcissistic until I looked at how narcissistic of a thought process that is.
Yeah.
To think that I can tell you something. Let me give you a great example.
I'll give you some great examples too.
Perfect.
That
I can tell you that I'm going to the gym every day. After a year, you'd be able to tell if I was going to the gym every day.
But for 2 weeks, I wouldn't.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. And so, like, one of the things that, and it was more subtle things like, oh, I want to quit smoking or I want to whatever. And I think that, can't speak for all men or a lot of men, but I think that the reason I did it was because I had found early on that as a man, my actions and who I wasn't rewarded. Mm-hmm. But things I said were laughed at or applauded in a good way, like as a stand-up comedian, right? No, I shouldn't say never. I don't recall I probably couldn't list 10 compliments I've ever received outside of my direct family.
Really?
Yeah. True compliments, earnest compliments, prior to like the last 2 years.
Okay, I was going to say.
Yeah. Certainly as an adolescent.
Yeah, I get that.
Don't ever remember being like, man, I'm proud of you. Mm-hmm. And or at least where I felt it was genuine. And so my words are what I had as my outlet, and then it perversely got rearranged in my brain as that was okay to use those versus my actions. So my way out of that now is that I act before I speak. So I just try and stay consistent with my actions, and then like if I'm going to say something to somebody, one of the things that sticks out in my brain, because like I said, that last relationship was a big realization of a lot of things. Mm-hmm. It was my enough's enough moment. That was my person that I was like in my head was going to marry. And so one of the things I said early on, I never thought anything of it because sometimes I just say what I'm supposed to say. It's like natural salesman in me. Mm-hmm. So I'm very careful about how I speak to especially a potential partner now. But I remember like kissing her very passionately before leaving and saying that every time we kiss, I want to kiss you like I'm leaving for war. And then I remember like 4 months later, like having a bad day or something, and I left and I was like, all right, bye. And she's like, what happened to what happened to that?
Women remember everything you say.
Well, and it pierced my heart a little bit. Like I still heard about that. Not because like I did that to her, but because I had it's weird to me to think back because it wasn't that long ago. But it's weird to me to think back about my entirety of my life prior to this, that I could be so inconsistent or so fickle
Yeah.
with someone that I cared about so
Yeah.
much.
And it's like, why?
Because it was never my intention to hurt them.
Right.
So why would I have said something that could have potentially hurt them?
And I can't speak for all women, but that's one of the things that's the most hurtful for me is being in a connection with someone, a relationship with someone, or just like casually dating someone that's like, will say something that really means something to me, but not mean it. Like, for an example, like something like, I love talking to you. Like, I can't wait to talk to you every day, but then I don't hear from them every day. And it's like they're saying that, and that made me feel so good, but then I'm constantly not hearing from them.
Yeah.
And so it's like, so then I'm in conflict now. Did I do something wrong? Like my anxiety starts to go, but then I think it's me, and it's hurtful. I don't understand why people do it. Like, I'm like, don't say something if you don't actually mean it.
Yeah, because somehow it's not thought of in the conscience as lying, but it's lying. You're lying.
It is lying.
You're
Or like,
lying.
oh, I'm going to see you soon. And then 3 weeks goes by and you're like, why'd you even say it?
Listen, a lot of
When
your
you
stuff
knew.
seems to be in conjunction with consistency about like being in their presence.
Yeah, it's just, or I really want to see
I
you
wonder if our
tomorrow.
abandonment-
Tomorrow comes around, they're like, oh, my friend's texting me about going to do this or whatever. Okay, did you really want to see me then? Why'd you say that? If you're actually like, the second something else comes up, you're like, oh, I want to do that instead.
Let me ask you, but you don't have to answer this, but my abandonment comes from two people. One unjustly so. It's my mother and my grandmother, because I always bounced back and forth. And those are the two people I wanted to and thought should unconditionally love me. Later realizing that my grandmother was doing what she thought was best for her daughter and her grandson. So she had two people to think about.
Yeah.
Does your abandonment issues come from one singular person or several people?
More than one, yeah.
Or are they primarily males or females? Or a mix?
Both.
Okay. Because everything you've said just about relationship red flags or like instances has to do with when they see you again or when they talk to you again. I mean, like exclusively almost about what you've said in relationships and
Yeah, so when
red
someone
flags.
shows interest in wanting to see me or talk to me, like be close to me, that's very deep for me. Like that's like that feels good. That feels safe. So when
Okay.
they don't do either of those things consistently, that pulls at me and it like hurts me.
Yeah.
Because then I don't believe them anymore.
Well, I think it hurts everybody, but yeah.
Because then it feels like a lie.
Right.
You know? And it makes me question myself. Even though I know that a lot of the times that's not the case.
All right. What are you doing on a daily or regular basis to help? I mean, can you even sever that tie? Like, what do you do? You strengthen your self-reliance or where?
I think self-concept is huge because so much of mine is wounding.
I'm not asking because I'm correcting. I'm asking to clarify. You said
Self-concept work. Like
what's self-concept work?
that, it's basically like building.
That's what I thought you said, but I was like, does she mean
Yeah.
self-confidence? What's
That means
self-confidence?
like the way that I view myself. Working on the way that I view myself. Building the way that I view myself in a high positive manner.
Right.
Because I've struggled with that for a lot of my life. Like, so,
So finding that inner happiness, that self-esteem.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's weird. I have self-esteem. Like, if I get really dressed up and I go out, I don't feel insecure.
How about
But
when you
in
don't get dressed up?
relationship,
How about when you don't get dressed up? You go out.
oh yeah, I don't feel insecure. I just feel invisible.
Mm.
Like, I'm not insecure about it. But I do feel invisible. Like, so part of this
Do you
is,
do you feel, I apologize, but I want to kind of, this part interests me from a different perspective. Do you think some of your invisibility comes from your need to be seen? Because I don't need to be seen.
no, it's not that.
Like I would prefer to be invisible. I feel like when I walk in a room, maybe this is a false pretense, but I feel like when I walk in a room, I don't think like people are like, record stops, everybody turns and looks like, who's that guy? But I feel like I'm noticed when I go places, and I would rather be conspicuous
Yeah.
than conspicuous and conspicuous. I would rather be inconspicuous because I think that's how I overthink everything. I'm like if I were to trip on a floor mat, I'm like, oh, great. Everybody in this place saw me. And in actuality, like 2 people might have.
Right.
But I'll like think about it for like 2 weeks. I'm like, dude,
Right.
all
Who wouldn't?
48 of those people in that restaurant think I'm a fool. So that's why I asked that, because I wonder where it comes from.
A lot of it comes from, it's an interesting dynamic. So obviously when I was little, my dad was gone a lot, and he was my favorite person. I always wanted him home.
Right.
Because when he came home, he was funny and he was fun, and I was like a daddy's girl. And so part of that comes from always craving his attention, always craving his presence, always wanting that, and then it just constantly being in and out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a part of me that feels like I have to earn someone's presence. I have to earn the connection with them. I have to earn their attention, right? And so I overperform and I do too much and I open up too soon, because it's like I have to make them want to be with me, right?
Yeah.
I have to like, and it's almost like manipulation if you think about it, but
It is. I'm that same kind of lotus flower when you say open up.
Yeah.
I'm that same way. Like I like to put like everything out there. One of the things I've started to hold back on, and probably the greatest compliment I've received ever in my life, was the person I recently went on dates with was telling me that I'm mysterious.
and you were like, I am?
I was like, well, say what?
Really?
Because every time prior, like you would know, like
I'm mysterious if I'm not that interested in you.
yeah, right. But now I feel like I let people find out things about me versus like tell everything about
I
me.
have to work on that.
And I've started asking more, because one of my big faults was, and I figured out why. My biggest fault, not my biggest, one of my bigger faults was I didn't ask anybody about themselves.
Yeah.
When I was in a relationship with them, I could date somebody for like 4 months and not like know that if you have siblings or not.
Damn.
I know. And it wasn't because I didn't care. I figured out what it was. It was because that
You were so busy trying to show who you were and be received and accepted that you were overcompensating.
no,
Oh.
but that might be part of it. The primary part was because that I was so sure that that person would leave me at some point that I started developing an aversion to finding out about them, because that way when they left, I wasn't so hurt.
Yeah. Because you didn't know them that well anyway.
The less I knew about you, the less I was hurt when you left.
That's deep.
So I didn't want to know them. I didn't realize I was doing it.
Gosh, if I'm honest, and I didn't realize this until my last dating situation. Actually, I probably did realize it in the one before that. But that's when I hit rock bottom and spent the last year and a half healing and being single for that reason. But and I have to work on this, and I know this, but because of the way that I have been abandoned in my life so many times, or betrayed so many times, any relationship I go into, I don't go into it to enjoy the relationship. I go into it waiting for it to end,
Mm-hmm.
waiting for them to leave.
Yeah.
Just kind of counting the days. Like, okay, 1 day's passed and they're still here. That's cool. 2 days, okay, it'll be tomorrow. 3 days, oh, well, they'll be gone day 4 for sure. Like it's like I count down the days till they decide that they don't want to be there anymore.
So what that caused in me, because I had the same thing, is one, detachment from early stages, and then 2, that expectation of them leaving was like has created a thing where the most enjoyable part of the relationship for me was point A to point, let's call it B,
Yeah.
with the understanding that there's still 24 other letters, meaning that as soon as I felt like, ooh, they like me.
Yeah. That's when shit
I'm
hit
over
the
it.
fan.
No, I'm over it.
I'm the opposite. As soon as I felt like, ooh, they like me, I'm terrified.
Yeah,
Because now
see,
they're going to leave.
But that's why I'm over it, because I had so much consistency with that's then feeling with that. So it's kind of like careers up until I created this company. I
What I'll do,
bragged about
too-
them. I felt good about them, but in my back of my head, I always knew I wasn't retiring
Yeah.
from that position. And the same thing.
What I'll do is I'll start giving them outs.
Yeah. I do that.
I did this with this last
I was
situation.
worse. I was you know what though? Like timeline wise, we're probably on the same timeline because I'm like 10 years older than you, or 11, 12. I'm like old enough to be your dad.
You're not.
I'm at least 10 years older than
How old
you.
are you?
41.
I'm 38.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Gosh, look fantastic for your age.
Nowhere close to being old enough to be my dad. You were 5 when you had me.
Yeah. Well, times were different in the 80s. Why did I think you were so much younger?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
The immaturity, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
The inconsistent relationships, maybe. No, I'm kidding.
No, I have all the same things. So I would have, the timeline works out though in the sense that when I was in my 30s, I was early 30s, I was still in that mode, late 20s for sure. I would be like, look, I would like just do dumb shit consistently, and then I'd be like, look, I understand like if it's not working out for you.
Yeah. See, I don't do dumb
And they'd be like,
shit.
what are you talking about?
I'll go, hey, just want you to know that, like, no matter what, we can be friends too. And then they're like, are you friend zoning me? And I'm like, no, I'm not friend zoning you. I really like you, but I just want you to know, like, you don't have to be with me.
That feels icky even for you to say that.
Like, you don't have to be with me. Like, if you decide that you don't want to be with me, that's okay. We can still be friends.
Gross, I would ghost you.
Why?
Because I hate that.
Why?
I'm just giving you my true reaction.
No, I want to know why, because that's happened to me.
Because
And I actually didn't understand why I got ghosted, because I was like, I was giving them their freedom to choose. Like,
because it feels like you're like, I'm gonna understand that conversation to have happened at least 3 weeks into a relationship. So like I'm maybe have some feelings for you at this point.
yeah.
And then you say that kind of thing, and I'm like, she's gonna leave at some point. She's not into this. Regardless of what you're saying, you're not into it.
See, and I'm saying it because I want it so much.
I know.
Because I want that person so much,
how it
and I'm
presents-
terrified they're going to leave me.
But how it
so I'm
presents to
giving
me-
them an out to leave me where it doesn't hurt so bad.
Yeah.
Because we can still be friends in my mind.
But how it presents to me is like, you want me to break up with you because you don't want to be the bad guy.
Really?
Yeah.
And see, I think that's the inner child in me, like testing. It's like a test.
Yeah, I get it.
And I'm not doing it on purpose, but it's like a test to see, are you still going to pursue me if I give you an out?
My inner child does the same thing in a different way. It just becomes so undesirable and so depressed that eventually the woman says, look,
You don't have your shit together anymore.
not that. It's more like, I don't know what to do to make you happy, and I can't be happy around you because I feel like I'm walking on eggshells. You're defensive about everything. You're always sad. You're depressed. Like, what happened to you? Because as you know me to be, I come in and I'm like, hey, yeah. Right? Like, I mean, not quite as douchey.
I'm the opposite in relationships. I do better in, like, if it's healthy, I become my best self.
No. Wait, what are you talking about? I mean, in general, in a relationship, what I'm saying is like, I'm so on at all times. Like, I'm generally happy, joyful, jovial man that when I become melancholy, I don't even have to be sad. When I just become
Numb?
middle of the road. No, just like, if I was acting like Sam all day, you don't think there's anything wrong with Sam, do you?
No.
He's a happy man.
Yeah, he's happy.
He's a calm dude.
He's calm.
Even keel.
Even.
I'm all over the place a little bit.
Yeah, you are.
So if I came in and had the same demeanor as Sam all day, guarantee
Oh, I'd be
everybody
like,
in
what's
this
wrong
building
with you?
asked me, what's wrong with me?
What's going on?
Yeah. And as in a relationship, if I'm even keel all the time, but I'm like life of the party guy other times, you're asking me what's wrong all the time.
Yeah.
And then how many times do you ask me what's wrong until you think it's you?
And you get irritated.
Hmm.
And how many times do I
I
ask
shut
you that
down.
until you get irritated?
I'm a shutter downer. Now I'll have conversations and I'll say stuff.
But you didn't before.
No.
What would you do?
Shut down.
So if I said, hey, like, I feel like you're distant. I kind of feel like you're in another
No,
world.
I'm not.
And like,
No, I'm not.
but that's
Why would
what-
you say that?
But that's how it feels. Because like when I
But
met
why would you say that?
you seemed so excited and like eager to get to know me, and you talked a lot. And now it's like I'm pulling teeth, and like you're always needing space, and like you don't feel like you're happy when you're
I'm not.
here.
I'm just chill. I'm just going through something.
What are you going through? Like, why won't, can you tell me about what you're going through? Can
I'd
I
rather-
understand?
I'd rather not.
But why? Why don't you want to be close with me?
Because I got to figure it out on my own.
But I want to do it with you so that I don't feel like it's me that's the problem.
I get it. But I just don't know how to handle it yet. And when I do, I'll talk to you about it.
Okay, now, and then at that point, I'm going, okay, he's pushing me away. He's blocking me. He doesn't want me to be a part of this. And that means he doesn't like me. So now I'm going to have to come back with, hey, listen, like
Just that reenactment was almost emotional, wasn't it?
yeah,
Because it doesn't feel good.
no, it
And I didn't
hurts.
realize I did it. And then that was a cyclical thing for me too, because the last thing I want is to make my partner feel bad.
Yeah, and
I
I
can't
now feel
stand
like
watching
you
that
don't want to be
sadness.
close to me.
And I hate watching that sadness, and I hate being the one that develops it. And then I would be double sad. And all of it was because,
And was there anything they could have done to redeem that?
no, see, that's the thing. I have come to believe that couples counseling is not actually a thing. I believe in it as much as I believe in unicorns.
It's really just about learning to communicate.
Well, here's my thing this is my theory, is that interaction between you and I, quite real to what my relationships used to be, is a me problem. It's not an us problem. So when you say, is there anything I could have done? No, because I haven't fixed me yet.
But let's say that was the scenario.
Yeah.
And let's say we ended up separating because of that reason.
Mm-hmm.
Because I kept going, I want to be close. And you're going, no, I got to figure this out for myself. I don't have answers for you. And I'm going, okay, but like, I don't feel like we're close now because you're not talking to me. You're dealing with things that I'm trying to help you with. I'm trying to encourage you, and you're not even responding to that. You're giving me nothing.
Right.
So I need to do what's best for me. Like if you're not in this and you don't want to be with me, I need to do what's best for me now. And then you're going, well, I don't know what to tell you. I don't want to let you go, but I don't necessarily have an answer for you, and like I can't give you what you're looking for. And then we decided to pull the ride, right?
Yeah.
And
Because
now I'm left feeling like he just didn't like me.
Well, and
It wasn't
I was destroying your peace.
Yeah, my peace is disrupted. I'm anxious now. I'm feeling insecure because I'm feeling like this person came in really strong and then they pulled away from me, and then they're saying that they were just dealing with their own stuff, but they weren't letting me in at all. And I'm seeking closure. I'm seeking connection with them, and they're continually keeping me at hand's length. And then when I ask for closure, they are irritated with me. And then I'm still left more confused, and I don't know whether to hold on or let go. And now it's over, and I feel like it's my fault because I was asking for closure when they were already confused. And should I have not said anything? Should I have just stayed anxious and let them continue on? Like, now what do I do? And now I'm sad.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I did something wrong to this person. And I feel like I upset this person by trying to seek more closeness and understanding about where things were.
And that was the rubble I left in my wake that I wasn't even realizing I was leaving.
Yeah.
And do you know why I did that?
Why?
Because I hadn't resolved my hurt and my pain. And so that's that old hurt people. My intention was to never, ever, like if I had my way, all I would do throughout the entire day is spread joy and make everyone believe in themselves and tell them how great they are.
But then in your relationships, that's what was transpiring.
Because inside myself, I hated myself.
Why?
For all the reasons that I couldn't control until I could let go of those things and forgive the people that did the things that they were incapable of understanding too. See, the realization that I had was that the people that hurt me didn't hurt me because they wanted me to feel bad. The people that hurt me because they didn't understand how to feel good themselves.
Yeah, right.
And so once I forgave that and then forgave myself for feeling like a victim, because I wasn't a victim. Everybody has problems. I have 4 limbs. I have good vision. I have a roof over my head and meals at night. I have a lot to be grateful for. If nothing else, for the fact that I have a bed that I can change the sheets on. I have a lot to be grateful for. And so the victimhood, no matter what your trauma is, everything is relative and everything is the most powerful you've ever felt. So feel that and believe that you're valid in being sad about things that have happened to you. Believe that there's validation in the way you feel pain, because that's valid. That's painful. That hurt. Those things that happen to you hurt. But to live your life as a victim or to blame the way you treat other people on your traumas, there's a difference between being self-aware and being self-aware with action. A lot of people are self-aware. Way more are not self-aware. But a lot of people are self-aware. Very few people are self-aware with action. I spent a lot of my life being able to say, yeah, I know, I'm sorry, but if you knew my abandonment issues and why they were there, you would understand why I act like that.
So why did you, when you were doing that, did you know that you were hurting those people?
Mm-mm.
Or did you just think it was them
I
problem?
thought I was hurting myself. I was self-inflicting pain.
So in a relationship, the woman saying to you, like, I feel like you're pulling away from me, like I feel like you're distant, like I'm trying to get in, you're not letting me in, and I'm feeling like it doesn't make me feel good. What are you thinking? You think it's their problem?
No, I was converting the same way a plant converts sunlight to food. I was converting their pain into my anger.
But why? What does that mean?
because I only understood how to develop one emotion. I didn't know how to feel sad and then truly live in that sadness until it passed. The longer I felt sad, the more angry it made me because I didn't want to feel sad. I always wanted to live my life as a happy person, and I couldn't understand why I couldn't be happy. And the reason I couldn't be happy, me, for my particular self, was because I didn't have self-confidence. All the things I ever accomplished, writing books that won Tri-State Awards, winning the geography bee, being a great athlete, being a good student, being a good son, were never acknowledged in the way that I needed them to be acknowledged. And so no accomplishment felt like it was going to get me to the point of where my affirmation came from everybody around me. When in all this time, I had all the power within myself, right? Like some kind of like children's choose your own adventure. Like I had the power. I didn't know that. And so my enough's enough moment where I felt like the victim and then flipped it around and gaslighted him. Like, what do you mean you need space? Like, I just want to be with you. Like, what's going on? And I was so sad.
Time, the other end of it.
And my sadness started turning to anger again. And I was like, no, not this time. Be sad. Lay down, cry. It's okay. Why are you sad though? Because this happened. Why did this happen? Because this person did this to me. No. What did you do? Because that person loved you at some point during that relationship. So not what did they do to you and why are you out of this relationship, but what did you do to make a person that loves you, the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th person that loves you, no longer be in love with you? Or what did you do to yourself that caused a person who loved you to make the gut-wrenching decision to walk away from you? Because they're not walking away with their head held high and super stoked about it.
Right.
Maybe there's that relief phase afterwards because they finally did the hard thing.
Yeah.
But that wasn't something that person at some point woke up in the morning and said, whew, today's the day I break up.
Yeah.
So then I started looking introspectively, and I realized I'm like, oh shit, I'm carrying a chip on my shoulder because of sadness that I've never resolved. Well, why do I have that sadness? Well, because I blame everybody for everything. How much of that is their fault? A lot of it. But how much of that was passed on because they were hurt too? Most of it. How much can I forgive them for? All of it. And once I did that, all of it's within me. I still have tough days.
Yeah.
I still have times where I blame people for things. But I pause and I take time to think about how I could have handled the situation different, how I can affect it. And mostly, to circle back to what I said initially about God, when you spoke on it, was mostly what I've learned to do is not worry about things that aren't in my control. Because that's the number one thing that kills my life force.
Mm-hmm. Same.
So when we were talking about like that lady we saw the other day, it looked like I thought it was Tony, what's his name's wife? It's not Mel Robbins. Mm-hmm. The let them thing, right? I've said that a lot out loud lately.
Yeah.
Sucks that this person didn't call me back. Sucks that this person wants to go do something else. It's that post really makes me angry because I know they don't live that way. This upsets me. Who cares? Nobody's losing sleep over me.
Yeah.
Let them. Right? And so like I stopped worrying about things that were out of my control. Again, to my best of my abilities. It's a work in progress. I stopped worrying about why I wasn't perfect. I embrace it. I talk about it. I love talking about my imperfections because that's why this whole show started, Mental, which started this whole company, is because I knew that the only way I was going to shake and understand and learn how to overcome mental adversity and being depressed for the 6th time, 7th time, 8th time in my life was to find out how other people did it. Mm-hmm. People who needed a kidney transplant, people who were going through a divorce with 3 kids, people who lost a spouse to cancer, people who had a famous child but always was in the shadow. All these different situations that I never had to deal with. How can they get up and smile every day? So once I figured out that there wasn't a formula, that it was in fact an inner peace, and that we have to put our own face mask on before we can put our kids' mask on, then I lived calmer. And I started journaling and having routines, and consistency has been the biggest key for me because I have bad moments, but I'm stronger today physically, emotionally, and spiritually because yesterday I did the same things I did this morning. I prayed in gratitude. I wrote down the things I was worried about and what I could do about them and forgot about the rest. I went to the gym, I listened to the Bible, and I went to sleep with self-affirmation. So today, no matter what happened yesterday, I'm physically stronger, I'm closer to God, I'm more grateful to be alive, and I feel better about myself.
That's good.
And that's all come from the understanding that you control more than you think you do.
Yeah.
And we control a lot less than we think we do too.
If I'm honest, I think part of my deep-seated need for consistency and predictability is that I'm still learning to be consistent and predictable for myself because I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
So I need it outside of myself still.
Most of our things that we dislike the most are mirrors of our inner self. Because you know
So
what?
having someone in my life that's consistent gives me a sense of safety because I'm still not consistent for myself.
Mm-hmm. We all have inconsistencies. Don't feel alone in that. But what I would say is that one of my biggest pet peeves is to be more specific about communication is when I have to repeat myself. Yet I speak very fast and I mumble. So how detrimental is that to my own peace, right? like wait, I'm not repeating myself 3 times. But I'm going to talk really fast and I'm going to mumble about it.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah. Organization is my biggest one. I want somebody who's organized. I can't stand waiting 15 minutes for someone.
Oh, yeah, punctual.
Yeah. But
I
I'm
actually get really irritated.
But
by
I'm
that, too.
inconsistent in other ways.
Yeah.
So it's just a mirror thing. And it's probably the Oedipus of like the top part of where we need to keep working on ourselves, right? Like, why am I seeking this, or why does this annoy me? Oh, let me look introspectively. How can I get more consistent? Use an electronic calendar, not just a paper one, right? How can I show up more? I don't know. Do I block out 30 minutes to clean my house every day? No, but I probably have that 30 minutes. It's better than being overwhelmed when I live with a 9-year-old and it's like 2 frat boys live in my house. Like there's not dishes everywhere and stuff, but probably twice a week I have to really get in there and be like, all right, let's get all these clothes out of the living room. Because there's like 4 hoodies and like 6 pair of shoes in the living room.
Sure.
We just come in and we're like, and I'm always like jokingly with him. I'm like, Trey, pick up your coat. Hang up your coat, Trey. From Karate Kid. You ever see that with little...
I remember
Will
that
Smith?
movie, but I don't...
The reboot with Jackie Chan. So like the old one was wax on, wax off.
Yeah.
The new one was like Jackie Chan talking because like he would always come in and throw his coat on the floor, and his mom come in and be like, Trey, pick up your coat. He's like, ugh. And then so like he went to Jackie Chan and started training, and he's like, hang up your coat. And Trey's like, now take it off. He's like, no, hang it up again. He's like, what is this doing, Mr. Miyagi? I don't understand. And like eventually it was like a move, right? Like, hang up your coat. So like
That's smart.
Tyson Constant comes in and just like all of his clothes, like he's shorts only by the time he gets to his room. I'm like, dude, Trey, come back here and hang up your coat. Like, what are you doing? He'll have nothing but shorts on. Like shoes off at the door, that's because of the weather. That's what they would do. Shoes off at the door. Hoodie usually ends up on the double couch. And then somewhere in the hallway between the kitchen and his bedroom, there's a shirt. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like just complete disrobement. It's crazy. So one thing I like to do when I end a show is I like to say something that I'm taking away from today.
Okay.
And then I'll ask you a question. So something I'm going to take away from today is that that sometimes our biggest fears are inner inconsistencies. Things that we are afraid of are probably because we're causing them. And what I'd like to ask you is, if there is a mantra, a phrase, a saying, something that's kept you going through many years that you would say has not necessarily saved you, but just like, what's an important thing that you tell yourself on a regular basis?
There's one of my favorites is by like an important thing I tell myself, or a quote, or like a saying.
It could be either. What's something that consistently brings you peace or joy throughout the last several years?
What I tell myself a lot, and it's not been several years, it's been regularly. I didn't know what affirmations were,
Mm-hmm.
so I have to constantly like remind myself like that. Hey, like you're still lovable, you're still likable, you're still worthy and valuable even in your imperfection. Like your imperfection doesn't take away from those things. I have to remind myself that a lot. I'm really hard on myself. And so I always assume other people will be too, because other people have been before. And so I'm sensitive to the way that people are about my insufficiencies. But I'm working on it. But anyway, as far as quotes go, I love the quote by C.S. Lewis. That, how does it go? It's like something about.
You can paraphrase it.
Something about, regardless of what's happened in your life, you can still restart today. Like, it's just about every day is an opportunity to start again, no matter what. Like every single day can be literally the start of a new chapter.
Yeah. Yeah, that reminds me of my new kind of I have a similar mantra, where that is, it's never too late to become exactly who you want to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've always wanted to be a peaceful, calm, and kind person.
Yeah.
And at my core, I always have been.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But I've not lived it as much as I have over the last year.
I would like to get to a place where my value isn't based on the way I think I have to be for everybody else. Where I don't only feel value by being seen as valuable by everybody else. Does that make sense? Where it's just, I know I am.
Yeah, that's an outside affirmation.
Even if I do nothing for
it doesn't just
them.
make sense. It's how I lived most of my life. I needed affirmation from others because me telling myself I'm okay or I'm good enough wasn't enough.
Yeah. Like, I want to get to a place in my life where I don't have to do anything extraordinary for you to know that I'm still valuable.
Yeah.
Right?
Just showing up.
Yeah, just being here is enough. It
It
already
should be.
makes me valuable. Yeah.
Thank you for coming on today, and thank you for having me on your set. I've never done that on mine. I'm doing it on yours.
Peace, joy, and light to the journey.
And live long and prosper.
E.T. phone home.
Bye.
This episode of Mental is brought to you by Spas and More. Visit spasandmorestl.com for more information.